Coast. He had done it 17 times. 17 times across 4 days. And every single time, nobody in that house could explain it. The sound of a 90-pound Mastiff stepping into a toddler's path is not subtle. It is a wall appearing between a child and where she wants to go. Coast. Nadia Kowalski was 22 months old and she had opinions about where she wanted to go. And on the 5th morning of February, she wanted to go to the living room window and she could not understand why Brutus would not let her. Her father, Thomas, watched from the kitchen doorway with his coffee getting cold. Coast. Brutus was an English Mastiff, fawn-colored, 6 years old. 114 pounds. He had lived in their Polish-American neighborhood home since before Nadia existed. Coast. He was calm to the point of appearing sedated most days. The kind of dog that visitors described as a living piece of furniture. Warm, permanent, quietly there. He had never shown a single behavior that caused concern. Not once. Until last Tuesday, Coast. Nadia had toddled toward the front window, her favorite spot where she could watch the street and bang her palms on the glass, and Brutus had risen from his corner and placed his body between her and the window. Not aggressively, he hadn't growled. He just stood there, a wall of dogs. She'd gone around him. He moved again. Ghost. Tomasz had lifted Nadia away and told Brutus to go lie down. The dog complied. 10 minutes later, Nadia wandered toward the window again, and Brutus was already there, already blocking, before she reached the halfway point of the room. 17 times. 4 days. Coast. Tomasz was a civil engineer, methodical, trained to read structural problems before they became catastrophes. He had ruled out the obvious things. No bird or animal outside the window triggering protective behavior. The street was ordinary. Coast. Nothing had changed in the house. Brutus ate normally, slept normally, showed no signs of illness. Ghost. He's resource guarding the window, his wife Beata said on the 3rd evening. Her sister-in-law, a veterinary technician, agreed over text. Classic redirected guarding behavior, new infant in the home, territorial confusion. He needs a behavioral consult. Coast. Tomasz was already nodding. He's making Nadia anxious. She cried twice today when he blocked her. He contacted a behavioral trainer that night. Appointment for the following Monday. In the meantime, he started keeping Brutus in the kitchen during Nadia's afternoon play window. Coast. Brutus scratched the kitchen door twice, steadily, then sat against it. If you stay for stories about what animals see before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Coast? The appointment never happened. On Saturday morning, Tomas was at the hardware store when Beata called. Her voice was controlled, the flat tone of a person working hard to keep it that way. The window frame, she said. Come home. Coast. Tomas drove 17 minutes and 12. He stood in the living room and looked at what Beata was pointing to. Coast. The lower left corner of the large front window. The wooden frame had a hairline crack running vertical, and below it, where the sill met the wall, the paint had bubbled in a way that paint does not bubble from ordinary age. He pressed his thumb to the wall beneath the sill the drywall gave. Coast, not crumbled, gave. Like pressing on something hollow that was no longer supported behind it. He called a contractor friend, a man named Gregor, who owed him a favor. Gregor came that afternoon. Coast. The exterior window frame had experienced water infiltration over what Gregor estimated was 2 to 3 seasons. The wooden structural header above the window, the load-bearing element that distributed the weight of the wall above it, had developed significant rot. Coast. It had been hidden behind intact paint in an undamaged interior surface, invisible by any normal household inspection. The lateral pressure of the wall above it had already caused micro-displacement. Coast. The sill was no longer secure. Under the right conditions, a sustained downward impact, such as a toddler repeatedly striking the glass with both palms, could have accelerated the failure. Gregor stood in the living room with his hands in his pockets and said, Good thing nobody was leaning on this when it went. Coast. Has your dog ever blocked something and you couldn't figure out why until later? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Tomas stood in the middle of his living room and thought about 17 incidents. About Brutus rising from his corner every time, moving to stand between Nadia and that window. Coast. About resource guarding and territorial confusion, and a Monday appointment that was never necessary. About the wall that was apparently rotten from the inside, while everything on the surface still looked fine. Coast. He thought about a 6-year-old dog who had never once in his life been trained to detect structural failure, and who had, for 4 days straight, refused to let a 22-month-old child put her hands on a compromised surface. He had no framework for it. He was an engineer. He reached for frameworks. Coast. Dogs possess between 200 and 300 million olfactory receptor cells. Rotting wood produces a specific volatile organic signature, microbial decomposition compounds including geosmin and certain terpenes, that changes in concentration as the deterioration progresses. Coast? A dog can detect these compounds at concentrations below what any domestic air quality sensor registers. Brutus had been living within 15 feet of that window for 6 years. He knew what it had always smelled like. He knew, in the way his nose processed time and change, that something had shifted. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Coast. Gregor came back on Monday with materials and a quote, and a helper named Stefan who asked no questions. The repair took 2 days. The window is solid now, the header replaced, the frame resealed, the sill refinished. Coast. Nadia discovered all over again that she could stand at the glass and watch the street and bang her palms until her arms got tired. Coast. Brutus went back to his corner, the permanent, warm, quietly there piece of furniture that he had always been. He watched the window and the child from across the room with no apparent interest in either, as if the last 4 days had not happened. Coast? The next story is about a dog who lay outside a nursery door for 9 nights before anyone understood what was already wrong inside that room. Beata took a photograph that evening of Nadia at the window and Brutus in the corner behind her. She printed it and put it on the refrigerator and did not label it. She didn't need to.